Hello and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host Brian. We're going to do an album review today, check out an entire album going track by track, exploring each in isolation and their purpose and place in the larger work. Today we're going to be looking at a band called Troldhaugen, which is an Australian band who were formed in 2008, released their debut EP in 2010, and has consistently been creating music in the avant-garde metal genre. Today we're going to be looking at Idio+syncrasies, which is quite a title. That is quite some artwork, and our opening track is quite a title as well. I've actually listened to that before on a live stream, if I remember correctly. What else did I want to say here? Oh yeah, we have about 37 minutes of music, not a very long album, and it's spread out across 12 songs, with most tracks being fairly short and none of them going over the 5-minute mark. So I think this album's going to go by pretty quickly. I know I'm in for a blast though. This opening track was bonkers. I don't remember a lot of details, I just remember it being all over the place, which avant-garde metal, the album art, it all kind of points me in the same direction. Let's dive into this one and see what's going on with Troldhaugen.
I ordered a taxi driver, not a taxidermy.
It's all over the place already. It's so catchy. The little flourishes, so good.
What? No! Sir, would you please stand still?
I ordered a taxi driver, not a taxidermy.
You did not order a taxi driver, you definitely ordered a taxidermy.
Would I order a taxidermy instead of a taxi? And we have killed any of the other would have either I have my intended destination.
Interesting progression there.
You have a point. You made in a wrong number.
finally back to the chorus again.
Your call could not be connected. Please check the number and try again. Your call could not be connected. Please check the number and try again.
Oh man. So I vaguely remember some of this stuff. Again, it's more of a feeling than really remembering specific elements of this track. Uh, where do I even begin on this? Well, I mean, I think there's two main things that everyone's going to pick up on. It's the two big F's. They're fun and funky. They keep groove as a core element on most of this. We listen to a lot of the verses, a lot of the chorus too, just a lot of the guitar work in general is, it doesn't even feel like they pick a chord. They just pick a note and they got a nice rhythm off of it. Boom, boom, boom. Oh, I guess that's two notes. It's kind of melodic, isn't it? Boom, 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 boom. Yeah, so they make a melody out of it, but it's really based off of the syncopation. The melody to me is a secondary component to the melody. The note choices are a secondary component of the melody, where I think the rhythmic element is the primary one. Primarily because everybody gets to chime in on that. Oftentimes the rhythm that the guitars are playing are mirrored by the bass and the drums in some capacity. Usually the bass kick, but we hear it in other parts of the drum kit as well. And it usually grooves against, usually a backbeat snare on this. And it's why every single section feels danceable, why everything makes you want to move your body. It's very difficult for me to just sit still while listening to this. Which, little insight, I suppose, I often feel like I don't move enough. I'm not visually exciting enough as a video, and I often wonder why I don't just do podcasts. But you know, sometimes I make a funny face. Sometimes the music just really affects me in that way. And some music is just so infectious, you have to move along with it. And so, you know, when I'm looking back through my videos sometimes to find a thumbnail or find a picture for a thumbnail, I find myself just kind of sitting like this a lot of the time. Not really like doing much. Just like little subtle movements. I don't really move to music when I think about it analytically. I'm more engaged with the intellectual side of it than how it makes me feel. And this song just does not allow me to do that. This song says, I am super funky and you're gonna move to me. And there's just nothing I can do about it. Every section is just so groovy. And it's phenomenal, honestly. I love it. I love moving to music. I just don't do it if I'm not thinking about it sometimes. And but you know, it's not just the groove, you know, the funkiness. We have the other F in here as well, which is fun. Everything going on in here, I don't want to say is comical. There is certainly, I think, a lot of intended comedy in here, but everything is lighthearted. Nothing is taken seriously, and I think that's a really important distinction. Just because it's not serious doesn't mean it's immediately funny. But there is that root word there, which is fun, and I think every part of this track is fun in some capacity. Whether it's a catchy melody, an infectious groove, a comical change of pace, a sonic landscape you weren't expecting, or a comedic line. Something funny that the vocalist says. There is fun elements everywhere. I mean, there at the end, we had the acapella bit, which, given 2017, almost feels like a direct and immediate response to the rise of acapella groups like Pentatonics. It doesn't feel so much as Troldhaugen saying, hey, we actually have a lot of good vocalists in the band, let's utilize that. It feels like, hey, here's a trend going on, let's kind of poke fun at it. Let's take the piss out of it. And I love it. It works. It's, but I think it only works because the song sets that environment up. You can't just randomly put a punchline in there into any track and have it flow nicely, but the song already sets itself up for being a fun time. Prior to that moment at the end of the track, we have the speak and spell intro. In fact, we have a speak and spell versus like the TikTok voice, which I don't know if the TikTok voice was a thing at 2017, but you know, just general AI voicings. We had that little argument there in the middle. That was comedic. We already had a switch off to, man, there's a style shift that like, oh, the bass techno beat, right? Felt like I should have been at a rave. So, you know, we've already had so many moments in here that have showcased, hey, don't take us too seriously, and we're willing to switch things up at any time, and we don't mind doing things for comedic value, so that when we get to that moment at the end, it certainly can't be read seriously. There is a tongue-in-cheek element to it. And so there's so much at play here. I think it's more difficult to write comedic music or fun music than people think. Usually it's just, hey, do whatever you want, and you know, if you're good at comedy, just inject some of it in there. And that's, I feel like that's only half of it. A lot of it is setting up expectations, crafting the right atmosphere. You know, the execution itself, the punchline itself, is such a small component of this. Um, and so, like I mentioned, that ending a cappella bit could 100% have felt out of place. And in any other song, I would have talked about how disjointed everything was, but the disjointedness is supported by the type of music that they're creating and the atmosphere that they're intending. It's uh, it's just a blast. And so, you know, there is one other element here that I think contributes heavily to the atmosphere and the feeling and the emotion of this track, giving it its lightheartedness. That's the vocals. That's not to say that the rest of the instrument doesn't help with this. The guitar lines are fun and groovy. The drums can be a little tongue-in-cheek at time with the way that they play around with rhythms, especially that, I don't know what it is. Is it dotted or tuplets in the main motif there at the end of it? There is some playfulness with rhythm, but these instruments I feel are more supportive of what the vocals are doing. To me, the vocals are the core element that really push this past the realm of fun music to funny music or comedic music, or even pushing it more towards the lighthearted side, because the vocals are. You all know Jim Carrey, right? He's not as big of an actor today, but he was one of the biggest names in comedy in the 90s. Very influential to my type of comedy, which I honestly don't talk about too often. But the thing is, how I tend to make people laugh in my life is the Jim Carrey route, which is overacting, really doing things to the nth level, cranking the facial expressions or the uncanniness or the absurdity to 11. I really like pushing things past the realms of the norm, which is interesting. That never really pulled over into music for me, but it is 100% my type of comedy. The more absurd, the more I'm going to enjoy it. And that probably surprises people. I don't think I come off as a funny person on the channel, but I'm usually the person in the friend group that makes everyone laugh. I'm the clown. Which, yeah, I'm trying to reconcile that against the image I've crafted with this as the stoic critic who who's always too serious. Um, but it's the overacting that I always adored and pulled out of Jim Carrey's performances. That is 100% what is going on here. The vocals are far beyond the typical range of performance. They move into the area of absurdity. If they were just a hair bit more controlled in the harshes, it might be a serious metal harsh. But they're not. There's always this break. It always feels like it's on the cusp of falling back into a clean. It just barely gets into it just barely cracks into the harsh level, and it's usually paired with a higher pitch vocal style. And so it comes off as heightened in a way, especially when you listen to the way that the cleans are and how the cleans ramp into it. In a lot of ways, it's natural to my ears because it is very close to the type of harsh that you would find in screamo or post-hardcore or anything that kind of bounced around from the emo area. It is a higher pitched scream, but it feels heightened above what anybody else would do. It really pushes towards caricature. There is a frantic energy as well to the performance of it. It all feels, well, overdone. It feels absurd. It feels too much. If this were an acting role, the director would definitely tell this person to tone it down, depending on, the film, of course, but and so when you pair that with the absurdity in the music and the grooviness and rhythmic elements of the music, you get a song that just exudes fun. It does not take itself seriously in any capacity. Some sections might make you laugh, and they are funny, they are comedic, but all of it is just lighthearted and fun. It's not serious at all. But I guess we'll have to wait to get to the lyrics to see what's going on there. We never checked out the lyrics on the live stream, of course. I'm kind of hoping the lyrics are funny. What I picked up was kind of there was one section that I was listening to, and he said something about that he's about to, and then he just says bleh, which I think is hilarious because one, it is sort of the onomatopoeia for vomiting, which I think is what that was alluding to, but it is also the sound that you make in like deathcore bands. And it was done harshly, if I remember correctly, too. So, like, it just feels again a little jab at at the it's a punchline about this type of vocal sound that harsh vocalists make while also contributing to, I think, the story that's going on there. Um, it's fun. I think that was about it that I wanted to talk about on this one. There wasn't really a lot of complexity to the musical side of this. It is a lot of stuff, but all of that stuff is done very surface level. And so to me, the big thing here is how it feels, how it's delivered. And I went over all that. So we're going to hit some lyrics, and then we're going to press forward. Something that clicked with me while I was reading some of these lyrics for, I don't even know. I'm not even going to say that there's any similar lyrics here, but I'm reading the lyrics and I try to remember where it is in the music, and I try to play some of the music back while I'm listening to it. And for some reason, the song in my head shifted to something else, and it's a really strong connection here. Hypa Hypa from Electric Callboy, they have the same kind of energy. It's semi-absurd, really fun, heavier electro metal stuff. And yeah, I think it was mainly the middle section there with the electric drum beat going on, quarter notes, that really brought me into that. And the more I think about it, I'm like, yeah, the same reasons I like Hypa Hypas sonically is the same reasons I like this sonically. It's just really fun, groovy music. Alright, so anyways, the lyrics are about a guy who is out of his mind, as he says a couple of times. How I read that, though, is possibly that he's drunk, just got done at a bar or a night out drinking, and tried to order a taxi to get home, and accidentally orders a taxidermy. And there's a bit of confusion here for me in the lyrics, but eventually it seems that he is operated on by the taxidermy and stuffed and hung up on a wall. Now, why a taxidermist would do this to somebody who is obviously alive and not an animal is part of the absurdity, I suppose. You just kind of have to suspend your disbelief a bit. But it's interesting too because he seems to still be conscious. He says, "This can't be happening to me, nailed to a wall for all to see. What a shame to lose my groove. Just tried to scoot, but now I can't move." I mean, that's, if we just look at the story, that's the whole thing. And I think that's only half the story. Yeah, I know, bad pun. I don't really think the tale itself is what's interesting here. It's how it's presented. The vocabulary used, especially the way it's delivered. As I mentioned, the vocalist adds a lot of character to this track, and I think that the words themselves don't really do it justice. There are some really nice lines that I think are cool even on their own, just written as poetry, but really it lost a lot of its character by simply being written down as a poem. But there is one section I like. He says, "My brain's on fire, I can't unwind, pants on the floor when I take my stride. I'm like woo-ha, ba-ba, bibbidi-bop, woo, urban wonderland, my mind's ticking over time." Just really utilizing sound to showcase the state of his mind at that moment. Right? He says his brain's on fire, and instead of trying to describe that with words and flourishy poetry, he just kind of unleashes a barrage of sounds out of his mouth, and like, yeah, I get it. I've been like that before. What a precise way to put it. There's a part later. He says, geez, picking up the speed, hitting the top gear because it's time to leave. Time tick-tocking while we're rocking on down a couple old fellows unconventional clowns." Just the way that it all flows here. It's so good. The use of the interline rhyming on this section and kind of making it feel more like speech than anything else. Very colloquial speech as well, not very proper at all. It's kind of whatever flows in the words themselves. On the whole, though, as I mentioned, there isn't really anything else here I want to point out. It really stands on its own from its delivery, more so than the words themselves, but there are some really interesting ideas going on in here. Yeah, let's move on. We're only 4 minutes into this. I already know I'm in for a good time. Looking at a few of the other tracks on here, we have CRISPr Me Baby One More Time, BMX Terminator, It's Morphine Time, Genome in a Bottle, and Perspective Man, written in LeetSpeak. So, well, I guess it's not proper LeetSpeak because it uses a plus for a T, and 7 is definitely T in LeetSpeak. So it's not Leet, it's more of a number substitution, symbol substitution, but it's good enough for me. Alright, let's push forward. We're going to check out CRISPr Me Baby one more time, track number 2. See, there's that just strong groove. Oh, the flourishes. I forgot to talk about that.
I've been crazy. What? Don't know where I've been. Woke up with scales on my skin. Look in the mirror. I need a vacation. Had enough of this genetic modification. Modification. Damn. Started from the bottom. Now I'm here. I got a rat attached to my so pour me up a rum and lime. And Christmas, baby. One more time. In a Christmas by New World, human genetic modification seems more of a question of why and who in the right mind would do that rather than when. Imagine you with an extra intellect which to do your tasks with. Oh man, amazing. So come try CRISPr and ask yourself the phrase, what the heck could go wrong?
This dude's a straight up character. Ooh. I did not like that high-pitched whine. So, I don't know that I have a lot to say about this track in specifically. I mean, it feels like a more focused version of what we just heard, taking the same idea of crafting fun and funky sections with an infectiously characteristic vocal performance, and taking the song in whatever direction they honestly feel like. They use transitions as portals into other worlds. They don't care. You know what this is? This is freaking auditory sliders. You never know where you're going to end up. You just hope it's better than where you were. really trying to get back home, and they always do. After like 4 slides, we end up back in our chorus. And I think it's interesting that both of these songs basically operate in this format of verse, chorus, extended rhapsody adventure to end in a return to the chorus once again. And it's, yeah, I know I'm like super dating myself with the Sliders reference, but whatever. It was a good show, and more people should know about it. So yeah, I mean, it doesn't really do much more with the formula than that. It does feel more focused, but I think part of that is just that it's 30 seconds shorter, so we had one less slide to go through. We also had the super extended, like 45-second moment of the vocal and glockenspiel thing going on, where it was like really random rhythms and they just played the same melody. It took forever. We also did something like that in Taxi Driver as well, and I hope it isn't something that is repeated often here. I think it was fine for a one-off. And I think them doing it in Taxi Driver on the shorter length as well was fine. The extended version here, the shtick gets old, the gimmick gets old real quick. And I was kind of already, I had my fill from track 1, so doing it in track 2 already put me off, and then it just being so long, and trying to listen to what was said because there wasn't really a lot musical going on there. It seemed just like stream of consciousness, random thoughts too. Maybe it'll make sense when I get into the lyrics and I can see it in perspective of the rest of the themes and stuff, but it just felt like he was saying random stuff. So it felt inconsequential and took up a vast majority of the track without being sonically interesting, and yeah, was not a fan of that. Like I said, I think the idea is solid. I just hope it doesn't pop up a lot across the album. So I found a third F going on in here. I think this is going to be a theme for the day. How many concurrent Fs can I find? So we had fun, and this track is fun, and we had fun key, which this track is certainly that. Tons of groove in here. Now we have Flourish. And this is something that I certainly picked up on Taxi Driver and just completely forgot to talk about. There are so many moments in these tracks where we get these one-off ideas. Sometimes they transition us between two concepts. Sometimes they're just added as a little palette cleanser before we loop back in on a phrase. Much like in the way that heavy metal likes to do the 3 bars of pedal tone or galloping, and then on the 4th bar we get a neat little lick to sort of divvy things up and change the pace of things. Sort of the same thing happens here. Every 4 bars, actually, they tend to work in 4-bar phrases, sometimes 8-bar phrases. The last bar, instead of being the same thing that you would expect, is something new. It doesn't always have to make sense. Sometimes it's completely out of left field. Sometimes it's a brand new instrument. But it creates a little lick that sort of divvies everything up, gives you something new to listen to, provides contrast. It's a palate cleanser. So that if we are going to repeat what we've been doing for the last 8 bars, sometimes 16 bars, we're going to repeat things again. We have this little moment here to sort of separate it out. So you don't just hear the same thing over and over and over. You get this little thing here, and it is always fun. It is sonic candy. In the way that I'm not going to say that the ideas themselves are substantial, but they fire off synapses in my brain that I guess release dopamine. I don't know, they all sound so good to listen to. I would not want a whole album of little flourishes like this, but the way that they're used sparingly enough, it's when it hits, it's like a guaranteed dopamine drop, and I'm just like, yeah, that sounded great. And it's these little inconsequential ideas. Like I said, sometimes it's a brand new instrument just for 4 beats, and then you never hear it again. It's rhythmic changes occasionally too. Chordal changes, which we haven't really talked about yet either, but there are some really spicy things in here. A lot of the tracks, both of them, are predominantly focused on more metallic sounds as far as their harmonies and chord progressions go, but there are some times when they enter into some very jazzy areas, and it's little bits of extra spice that help spice things up. I'll try to point out some of the flourishes going forward because they're so random and short that I can't really remember them, much like candy. It's something you eat, you really enjoy in the moment, and you probably forget about because none of it is really memorable. Unless you're having some really good chocolate or something. You know, once in a lifetime, I'm going to buy a $50 bar of chocolate or something. Um, but it's enough to light up the synapses for a moment. And so I'll try to point that out going forward. Yeah, so I guess I'm just as tongue-tied as I was 2 days ago. Yesterday, even. This whole week, I haven't been able to speak. I don't know. Maybe I gotta see a speech doctor and learn how to... You know what I think it is? My brain gets ahead of my mouth. I do the same thing with writing and typing, and that's why I skip words. I always have to go back and edit stuff. I'm like, how did I miss and? It's so important to the word. It ties the two sentences together. But literally, my brain had said it and moved on to the next word, and my hand hadn't written it yet, and it just caught up with my brain. I gotta learn to slow down. Alright, lyrics. Alright, this track is about genetic mutation. It's about winding up with 30 toes and an extra nose and a crab claw right where my legs used to be. I can't go back. This is whack, dude. Don't be like that. What do you mean this is set? What kind of fate have I met? So this person has been genetically modified with all of these extra appendages and body parts spliced together from animals, and they're kind of confused and a bit lost, and they want to go back to normal, and it doesn't seem that they can. And that's the whole story. We kind of have a little bit of world building, if you want to call it that. It says in our CRISPR-fied new world, human genetic modification seems more of a question of why, and who in the right mind would do that, rather than when. Imagine you with an extra arm or leg with which to do your tasks with. Oh man, amazing! So come try CRISPR and ask yourself the phrase, what the heck could go wrong? So there's a world where genetic mutation is pretty standard, and people are doing it and winding up in weird states of existence. Right before we reach our final chorus there at the end, we have a section that says, get set, break down all your cells. Oh no, I've changed my mind. Too late. It's time, let's meet your new self. And it's just... that's it. I wonder what crisp means, though. It's all capitalized, except for the R at the end with CRISPr, but that isn't always said. The very first line is, I've been crisped. Like the past tense of crisp, assuming that that is a verb in this sense. It says, don't know where I've been, woke up with scales on my skin, had enough of this genetic mutation. But then later on it says, and crisp me baby one more time. That's the end of the chorus. Which I find interesting because the title of the song is CRISPr me baby one more time. But the word CRISPr only comes up once. It seems to be the device. So come try CRISPr and ask yourself the phrase. Which makes sense. ER is something that does. A diver is one who dives, so the CRISPr would be a machine that crisps. I find the discrepancies. Interesting. The title I would think would be called Crisp Me Baby One More Time, since crisp is the verb, CRISPr is the name of the device, and the line in the song is Crisp Me Baby One More Time without the on the end. Very, very curious about what led to the specific title here. I did kind of hope that there was going to be some Britney Spears reference in here, even if it's just the musical motif brought up one time in here as a little Easter egg, but I was searching and did not find it. If anyone else heard it, let me know. But I was actively searching for some sort of Easter egg or throwback or callback to Hit Me Baby One More Time, and I didn't catch it. But yeah, that's about it for this one. Again, the lyrics themselves, the story they tell is only half of it. I still think a lot of this comes down to the vocal delivery, which I find to be quite a bit more interesting than the story itself. I think that if anybody else had delivered these lyrics, I don't think it would be as pleasant to my ears. I don't think I would enjoy it as much. A lot of it comes down to the over-the-top performance of our vocalist. Alright, so with that said, we are going to move on. We're going to do the next two tracks. One is BMX Terminator, and then after that we have a 30-second interlude called Mr. Troldhaugen on Politics. I don't even know what to expect. Alright, let's move forward. Dude, this guitar tone is gnarly. Oh, I love the marimba back there. There's an infectiousness even to the rhythmic element of the vocals. I know that melody. What is that? Here's our Flourish, by the way. The marimba in the background. Oh, we got a second verse this time around. Some sort of aerophone? Oh man. Got some heavy metal belting in there, chip tune now. Okay. They play around a lot too with offbeat rhythmic patterns.
And we're back on Politics Hour on 200,000 FM. I'm your host, Richard Dick. Here in the studio, we have acclaimed guy, Mr. Troldhaugen. Now, Mr.
Acclaimed guy.
Troldhaugen, over the years, where would you say that your political compass leans towards? Left wing or right wing?
Chicken wing!
You know what this feels like at times? Is a series of musical dad jokes. You can't help but smile, but some of these decisions are very groan-worthy.
Why wait for tomorrow when you can have today? The best potential ruler for the entire human race. He's checking all the boxes. Greet you with a smile. With words that soar around the world, politically agile. Come on, yo, just sign it down the line. That's right, you're doing fine. I don't know what I'm thinking. What's the matter, son? What are you thinking? Just follow my lead. Look at what I do. It's easy, everybody. Now got to know what I do. Live box full of feathers and ink. In the way for a girl like you, stay straight to the stars. In the hollow of the
Okay, so I was not expecting power metal, but those falsettos were unbelievable. Oh man.
What's this? My head now? Is it some sort of my soul's reality? No, I swear this ain't home. Free range lives are up in my dome. Son, to forget what the heck I'm here for. Chicken love mention something about us being for. The run trap me the field to steal. Space to feel or he'll make us feel for real.
Oh, that's a nice timbre. I know this is like nothing like anything else they make, but I could really just, I love this sound. Nice ambience. Oh, okay. Let me keep rolling with this. Really interesting for them to take it in this direction. I should have made that connection. I figured I'd run BMX Terminator and Politics together since Politics was short. But I really should have noticed Poultrytician should have been connected to the interlude about politics. And it wasn't until he said chicken wing, and I was like, oh my god, they're going to go together, aren't they? I was like, at this point, I just got to run them together. There's no stopping it now. This is good, though, because BMX Terminator, I didn't really have a lot of specifics to speak on it. I mean, here's the thing. At the end of the day, Troldhaugen, at least on this album, does the thing that they do very well. A lot of variety across surface level understandings and sounds, with infectious grooves and rhythms and a wildly eclectic and charming lead vocalist. And so I don't really think that going forward, I'm going to have a lot to speak about on the musical side, although we do have a new topic here for that in a second. But pretty much everything that I have said about one song can easily be repeated for all of the other ones we've checked out. They have a formula, and they can do it in a variety of ways, but the variation is baked into the formula. So the fact that they had a little jazz lick in here on a saxophone is unique to Poultrytician, but isn't really unique to anything that I've described about them so far. It was such a short little moment that I can't really say it had much impact on the overall song, besides just being one of those flourishy ideas that changed things up with a brand new sound. Poultrytician, though, did do something a little bit different, though. It explored... not a word, a phrase I thought I was going to say. It explored power metal. And the thing is like they've kind of gone in a lot of different realms, right? Avant-garde metal is honestly the best description for them as far as genre goes, but I think it does them a bit of a disservice. While everything that they play has a metallic edge to it, I guess metal is the umbrella to put this under, but they explore so many other different sounds. I mean, we've had a cappella, we've had pop, we've had electro, we've had pop punk, we've had just a whole bunch of stuff. And this one had some jazzy elements in it. And even harmonically, we've explored some spicier styles in all of the tracks. There is a jazziness to the harmonic qualities in all of these songs. It's really difficult to pin them down into one genre. And so, like I said, avant-garde metal, I guess, is good enough. We don't really have a name for a genre that would accurately describe this. It is a little bit of everything. It's experimental in so many different ways, and experimental is just such a broad genre. This could be lumped into the same spaces as, who's that dude who did that piece? There's an electronic song that sounded like, I don't know, it took forever to get into, and it's just a lot of sonic landscape. I'd called it a lawnmower trying to get started. I can't remember. Experimental is just too wide. I can put this song next to another experimental song and they'll have nothing to do with each other. But yeah, going full on power metal though, it just didn't seem like something they would attempt. I don't know how I got into this big thing about genre. They do everything though. There isn't really a nice way to package them. You know, they definitely have I would say a nu metal leaning. It feels like the closest thing I could call to their home base would be something reminiscent of early Korn, as far as the way that it plays with rhythm and textures and guitar tones. Obviously, you know, this is not very much like Korn's self-title or Life is Peachy, but I feel like there's enough elements in there that I could probably, I mean, that's the closest parallel I have. And yet they deviate so far from that so often as well, but I think that power metal just wasn't on my radar here, and for them to go full on into that, especially with the layered vocals for the adventurous harmonies and the falsettos and the belting, It's one of those things that just really catches you off guard, and it absolutely tickled my funny bone. And every time it came up, I was this close from just falling to the floor, my knees just giving out due to laughter, due to bewilderment. When I think that I've got these guys figured out and they can't surprise me, they absolutely do. Now, I mentioned we have a new F that we want to talk about. We're up to 4 Fs now. These guys certainly have a lot of Fs going around. This one being sort of a dual word. I think both are accurate, but they're similar enough to sort of group together. Frantic and frenetic. Aside from the one moment in here where we sort of cleaned up the sound, shifted to more of a power metal production and a power metal guitar tone, and had a more traditional heavy metal solo going on there, which was an interesting deviation. Everything else is fast and energetic. It comes at you, it has fast tempo, fast playing. It isn't thrash metal. We're not talking about speed, but it is fast. We tend to get into ideas and we get out of ideas. The vocals are rapid fire, constantly coming at you. Everything feels like there is not enough time to do it, and they are playing at about 1.25 times the speed, about a quarter percent, about 25% faster than I think the songs really should be, because they're strapped for time for some reason. I don't know what the reason is. It's completely, external to everything. But there is this feeling that they can't play the song fast enough. It always feels like it's teetering on rushing. Maybe that's just me, but yeah, everything feels frantic, and it really clicked with me when we slowed it down for the power metal solo section. And I was like, dang, this is patient. This is taking its time. We haven't really dropped tempo. We're just not pushing against the tempo as much. We're relaxed. We're in the pocket here. And when we shifted back, I was like, yeah. Thinking back to the other 3 tracks we've had, everything really pushes forward. It all has this momentum to it. And it's ceaseless, and the chaotic shifting between styles only adds to the frantic feeling of it. You never know what's around the corner, and you get there a lot faster than you even have time to think about what might be around there, and before you even realized it, you've already turned the corner and are going in this new direction. And you look ahead and there's already a corner coming up. Before you have time to prepare for it, you're taking it. And the songs just feel like barreling through a race. No concerns for endurance, no concerns for pacing, just need to get done first. And it's really interesting that this album gives me this feeling in a way that black metal and thrash and speed metal don't. They're sort of fast for fast's sake, but the tempos tend to be a bit on the slower side. It's the speed of the notes that really make the songs feel fast. And I think part of it is also that the vocals in black metal, thrash metal, speed metal tend to be a bit more reserved. They're the instrument that is playing slowly compared to everything else. They're not rapping on top of the 16th note picking and blast beats. They're kind of just taking their time with the lyrics. For as fast, well, I should say, for as many notes as are played on the guitar in a thrash metal or a black metal song, there really aren't a lot of lyrics. And this is the inverse of that. There is intensity to the guitar work and the drum work, but a lot of the speed and immediacy comes from the vocals. The fact that the vocalist just throws all these words out constantly. And since the song isn't slow, it has a nice brisk pace to it. It really makes this feeling of just being out of time. Just a hair bit late, right? You're not half an hour late for your meeting or your appointment where you know you can't make it. You walked out the door 3 minutes late, and there's a chance you might be late if the traffic's bad, if you don't speed, go 5 over the speed limit or something. There is urgency in your transport, but it isn't a chaotic rush. It's just, I need to get there a little faster than usual. And that's what these songs feel like to me. And it gives them a bit of a frantic edge. So yeah, fun, funky, flourishy, frantic, or frenetic. I really hope to make a huge list of Fs for this album. I don't know if my vocabulary is quite strong enough for that. I don't know if I'm going to pick up on enough themes running throughout all these tracks to do it, but 4 is a great start, and honestly, if we end at 4, I think I'd still be rather happy. But we have a good half the album still ahead of us, 60%. Plenty of time to find some more Fs in here. Let's hit some lyrics. I was going to start out this section for BMX Terminator describing it as a fun, dumb song, but that doesn't really set it too far apart, does it? This is a track about seeing somebody do some backflips on a bicycle while wearing a pair of shades and saying, hey, just do what I do and you'll be vibing too. And seems our narrator, our main character, says, you make it sound so simple, but I can't do that. So instead, I'll build a robot to do those tricks. It'll be the BMX Terminator. And then we sort of shift gears, shift perspective. We begin to speak from the first person of the robot. He says, I'm out here doing whips on my bike with nothing but bolts and screws and wires inside. Hit the lip and swing the hangers round. 180, 360, 540, 720. Oh yeah. 10 feet flying up in the air while those knuckle-dusting dorks all just point and stare. Don't fret, you can do it too, just like me. And it's about how this BMX Terminator just tears it up, just a robot on a bike. And he starts being so good. He says, it ain't easy being king of the track. People get green and start giving you smack. They just can't deal with the mad skills they lack. I'll leave you in the dust. You'll be flat on your back. So, yeah, he just gets so good. People become envious. And he smokes them anyways. That's what the song's about. Genius. I honestly thought it was going to be something else. I mean, the Terminator is literally just used for the word of a robot. Possibly a robot that's good at what he does. I was expecting something a bit more violent, given the specific reference to a Terminator instead of BMX Android or something. Although different syllabic phrases there. Android doesn't have as many syllables. It might not have worked too well for him. BMX Terminator also just feels really cool to say. So, yeah, I don't know. It is a song. That is for sure. Mr. Troldhaugen on politics is, of course, 29 seconds of just a fictional live show, evening show. We have somebody asking Mr. Troldhaugen about their view on politics. Where do they lean? And he says he's not left or right wing. He's chicken wing. Which moves us into Poultrytician, which is a song about... I'm not sure. The opening stanza says, why wait for tomorrow when you can have today? The best potential ruler for the entire human race. Keep that in mind, because that's where my confusion stems from. He's ticking all the boxes, greets you with a smile, with words that soar around the world. He's politically agile. So we have somebody who wants to rule the entire race. Ruler of the earth. Come on, y'all, just sign the dotted line. That's right, you're doing fine. But sir, I can't read. I don't know what I'm ticking. What's the matter, son? Buck buck? Are you chicken? The idea of just telling people how to vote, whether they know what they're doing or not, in order to get you in power. Now, up to this point, I think it makes perfect sense, but there is a twist right around here. It says ballot boxes full of feathers and ink pave the way for galactic space trip to the stars in the hull of a mechanical rooster. The flock has flown the coop, y'all. And so this begins to take a different view. I don't know if it's metaphorically changed that the humans are now perceived and represented as chickens, but the rest of the song here is all about literal chickens that can talk, I think. Or at least we get to, well, they get to shoot guns, so I suppose they're a little bit more intelligent or capable than real chickens. Regardless, they put them on treadmills and VR headsets. He says, "What's on my head? Some sort of device that shows reality? I swear this isn't home. Free range lies all up in my dome. Starting to forget where the heck I'm here. Chicken Lord mentioned something about us being forced to run treadmills to fuel this steel space mobile, or he'll make us squeal. The coop is out there, roam your pastures. The coop is out there. The coop is out there, now shoot your blasters." So we have these chickens who are told and tricked into believing that they're still in a free range pasture, even though they're cooped up in a little room on a spaceship running on treadmills. Again, the parallels, there's certainly ways to draw this as a metaphor to what we had seen before about humans being told what to do, even if it's against their best interest, because they have no way of knowing what is in their best interest. But the shift was very stark, and I don't know how to particularly read this, especially given that metaphor hasn't really been, I think, their strong suit. All of their stories are heightened for sure, and well, I was going to say and might draw some parallels, but do draw parallels to real life, but I don't really think anything has been on the level of social commentary like this one has. You might be able to read into some of the other tracks we've listened to, but I don't think on the surface they really push for that type of depth. It's possible they have, and I've just completely missed it. This just seems a bit more prominent and on point. The last stanza we hear before getting back to our second chorus is, "Yeah, across the galaxy, look out for my Kentucky Fried Laser Beam. I'm the king of the clutch. Oh yeah." Here, it seems that we have allowed these chickens to go out and go to war. This is now their free range. They don't have to be inside on the treadmills with the VR headsets, but they're not allowed to just exist the way they want to. If they want their freedom physically, they do it by fighting in a war. I think this does have a lot of parallels with human life right now, and I think it is social commentary on the way that people are taken to the slaughterhouse, led there, unbeknownst to them, whether it's one way or another, voting in people who don't have your interests at heart, or being shipped off to war to fight for people who don't have your best interests at heart, or so many other ways of going about that. I think that's what they're alluding to here. I'm still not entirely sure about the shift from humans to chickens, but maybe I'm just looking too far into it at that point. Alrighty. We are going to push forward with the next track. It is the shortest on the album, called Mambo Mambo Binko Banko. And from there we'll probably move into the longest one, called It's Morphine Time. And I think I'll decide then if I should move into the interlude, Caller Unknown. Let's dive in and see what's going on. What?
Mambo, mambo, let me give you a spanko. Lady, are you gonna be my bingo banko?
Bingo, is that all I am to you? I assure you I'm a wizard, through and through. So shut your forked tongue, cause this ain't news to me. Don't treat me like I'm not what it knew to be.
Babe, I got this cold blood, who am I hopping yo? You got that touch of the cream, now let's get no doing inside your game. Oh, so you see the turtle is this shackle, free baby, do it, don't take no mistake, all I wanna do is bingo banko. Drop down, shake around, make me slither. Yeah, girl, take a curl right around my trigger. Big eyes open wide, don't you worry. Got my sweet wide eyes, flat backs, longest tongue, yeah, I'm so bad. Curling up, gets wild, shit that's skin, yeah, make it raw. Mr. Slimy, come on, try me, show that thumbs I know. Don't even hang in on this glass, cause she takes two to tango. Oh, baby, it's you I want to please. Under them doors and cracks I squeeze, wriggling through these beats. Look at how my eyeballs shit, slip, glass, slaying no reptilian. Watch the bounce now, just like silicon. Mambo.
Gotta get the air horn. I love how nothing's off the table. What is this?
Nothing compares to this. Oh no, nothing at all. Make you feel like you're the best in show. Cause ain't no one can resist my flow. Watch this feeling. You're losing control of my breathing. Oh, take my blues away. Legs and arms, stomach, I can feel my toes. Put all the world on hold, yeah. When I'm becoming comatose.
Okay. This is their ballad. I got it now. But your mind is so bright it can't explain what this is. 100 hours, maybe more time is thrown at the door. It's so cheesy. The harmonies, the progression. It kind of reminds me of when Lonely Island does a ballad. And there's just something about it. It gets cranked up to 11. And it's just so ridiculous.
Legs and arms numbing, I can feel my toes. Put all the world on hold, yeah. When I'm becoming comatose, feel that floor pumping direct into my veins. I can feel
So many cliches. This is phenomenal. Yeah, we'll hold off on the interlude, just in case it goes into track 9. Is there a good F word for too much? Overload? I don't know. That is certainly where this track went, though. Mambo Mambo was interesting in that we sort of went towards a more hip-hop style. Our verse was rapped over a closed hi-hat style beat. We had a call and response, sort of. A male vocalist take a verse, female vocalist take a verse. Even though I think it was another AI that they had going on here, much like Taxi Driver had in the bridge. It was interesting. I'm kind of glad it was the shortest track on the album. I don't think it quite had the bite and infectiousness that the rest of the album has. It's missing, I think, the hook, for me anyways. Everything else is fun and wacky and taken to 11 and highly absurd, but cohesive and still a strong song underneath. And that track, I feel, is missing something that would really make it, really give it that oomph. I think the thing here is it's easy to write music that is absurd. And it's easy to write a song that is good to listen to. I think it's really difficult to find the midpoint there of absurd enough to be comical, but muted enough to be a good traditional track. And they walk that line fairly well. And Mambo Mambo comes off a bit too straight for me. It's missing the absurd edge to it. The absurdity, I think, comes from the genre shift. Isn't it crazy we did rapping? And I just don't think that that's strong enough of a foundation to build the song off of. The chorus is a bit better than the verse, but being that it's so short and it pretty much just does the verse, chorus, half the song is just not interesting to my ears. It was really nice hearing it, and I think it did have a strong enough beat. It's not like I was completely bored with it. I did move my body to it. It's a nice song to listen to very casually. But beyond that, it does feel, to me at least, to be the weakest track on the album so far. Morphine Time. This is their ballad, and it is beyond absurd. The chorus is just ridiculous. My hair needs to grow like another 3 months worth today. I just want these stupid bangs to sit behind my ears, and they won't. Yeah, it's ridiculously over the top, ballad, sappy. I had mentioned that it reminds me of when Lonely Island does a ballad. It's that same level of just ridiculousness to it. And they lean into, purposefully, of course, all of the tropes. It's not even cheesy anymore. We don't have a word for it. Cheesiness, I think, can be endearing or annoying for some. I don't think either of those words work for what happened in Morphine Time. It's so cheesy, it's elevated into the realm of art. They really found a way to take every single ballad trope and smash them together into a single 5-minute song. And it just feels like such a commentary on the idea of the power ballad that it's no longer parody, it's deconstruction. And so I'm not going to say I really enjoyed this track. It does feel a bit too, well, it's kind of missing the fun. It is funny at times, but it is not a fun track like the rest. It's not super funky either. There is still Flourish, but it's not frantic. It is a massive change of pace, which, if we look at the styles of music that I think this stems from, heavy metal, hair metal, who else? What other genres had like the mandatory ballad you had to have on your album? They were all change of paces, and for the most part, from my experience listening to people who grew up in the 80s and listened to music that did this, the power ballads were the part of the album you always skipped. It was not very well liked for whatever reason in the circles that I loosely participated in, which I guess primarily is coming down to the older people in my family, which they might have all informed each other's opinion on it as well. So this kind of sits in that realm as well. It's such a diversion from everything else that we've heard so far that if I turn this album on for fun, funky, frantic music, this is not going to scratch that itch. If that is the exclusive mood I'm in, it's not going to work. And if that's not the exclusive mood I'm in, maybe I'm in the mood for this. Well, it's one track off the album. And I think it's really interesting. I don't really think I've thought about this before, but when I pop an album in, and it's not usually to listen to a style, it's to listen to a band. Very rarely do I skip around tracks on any album I listen to. I'm there for the band's sound. This doesn't feel like the band's sound. It's still conceptually them. It's parody, it's absurdity, it's elevated writing. But it falls so far outside the realm for me, primarily due to the fact that it is everything the rest of the album is not. And maybe even extrapolating this out to Mambo Mambo, that's another reason it kind of falls a bit flat for me. I really enjoy their fun funkiness. And while at least Mambo had the chorus that fit within that, this track is so different from everything else. And I think I've been harsh on it. It's not a bad song, and I called it art, so I hope that speaks about its work and worth in some capacity. It just doesn't work for me casually. I think it is a phenomenal deconstruction of the style, and I do think that they have found a way to cram everything into it and just be the ultimate power ballad. But I think in doing that, it kind of loses part of their identity. I don't feel any of Troldhaugen in here. I feel tropes of the genre. I feel blueprints from decades of music being represented here, but not Troldhaugen. And so I think the song in isolation is phenomenal. I don't necessarily enjoy it sonically, casually, but artistically, I think this is a very important track. But I think it works best in isolation, possibly as a single or something, and not in the middle of this album, because it just doesn't represent who Troldhaugen is at this moment in time, at least my perception of that. Let me take a second to hit the lyrics on two of these, which I completely forgot about. It's possible that they completely change how I feel about them. And then we'll continue on. I think we're only going to have two more breaks here. We'll do the interlude, track 8, and then 9 and 10, and then 11 and 12. Alright. So, Mambo Mambo. This is an interesting track. It is a track full of sexual innuendo from the perspective of two lizards. The opening stanza says, "Got my hands up against the wall. You make me feel like a gecko. Girl, you look so fine like you snapping my necko. Mambo Mambo, let me give you a spanko. Lady, are you gonna be my binko banko?" This is sort of the pickup area, right? We haven't actually got into the act yet, but it's like, hey, you want to go back to my place? And so by the end of it, though, there is some really flourishy kind of language, without going into much detail, that they did end up crawling up on a wall together and having sex. The topic and theme itself is okay. It's unique. I can't say I've ever read a poem or heard a song that was about this specific thing, but I think what's more important to me is the... Well, let me rephrase this for a second. What I've really loved about most of this album is the heightened absurdity of everything. The music is absurd. The lyrics typically aren't, but the themes are unusual. But the music, I think, is where a lot of the absurdity comes from. All of the styles smashed together, the ways that the vocalist changes the delivery of the line, the different guitar tones that exist all throughout here, all the different rhythms and beats. Everything is cranked up to 11 as far as oddity goes. This was not, and I had mentioned that kind of fell flat for me as a song because of that, but it's actually in the inverse here, where the music itself was a bit more restrained, but the lyrics have a heightened absurdity to them that I think is really interesting. Primarily because it paints a really interesting picture about the lyricist and their understanding and mastery of the English language. There are a few lines in here that are very specific to reptiles, but on the whole, this feels way too similar if we had changed this out for humans. There's very little, I think, that would necessarily need to get altered. And it really made me begin to think about the vocabulary that we use regarding sex, especially more colloquial vocabulary, and sort of the dual meanings of everything, right? The whole idea of the double entendre is that you can say something that is completely innocent in one perspective, but means something totally different and sexual in another. And this sort of toes that line very closely, where it all feels very surface level, dirty, very surface level sexual if we take it from the perspective of lizards. Says, hey, get moist with me. The female lizard calls the other one Mr. Slimy. Um, there's a lot of these lines. I mean, certainly there's some. He's like, hey, look at how my eyeballs sheen. I mean, that's kind of like a lizard thing. They got really big eyeballs, right? Proportionate to their body. But there's quite a bit in here that actually is kind of how lizards are, but also we kind of use similar vocabulary when talking about sex. And so we create this song that is kind of absurd from one perspective, but a really great commentary on language and how it's utilized for this specific theme and topic. Regarding humans, though, of course. And it's really interesting to come at it from that perspective, I think. Now, the next track, it's Morphine Time. It's about somebody who gets high on morphine. That's it. And, thinking about it just now, that's how I've described all these tracks. It's about this, and that's it. Every song is very singular-minded. It has a topic it wants to explore, and it does it, and then it moves on. There really isn't much more depth to it. Again, as I pointed out with Poultrytician, it's not possible that that's the only read on it. Some of these may have a bit more depth to them than I'm giving them. But at least on the surface level, much like the music, where you can just enjoy it on the surface level, the surface level read for all these lyrics are very focused. Now, unlike any of the other tracks, It's Morphine Time doesn't really have any lines that I really want to showcase. A lot of it is written a bit more conservatively than some of the other tracks. And I think this pairs with the delivery as well, where there is this chaotic bordering energy that the vocalist has a lot of the time. As I said, with the vocal fry just barely creeping in over the actual vocal cords coming in, and this chaotic energy in the way that lines are delivered. None of that really happens here, so we've lost a bit of that heightened element as well. And I think it's just paired with safer, more conservative language and a more conservative vocal style, and it all comes together in a way that feels very safe. Which, again, I think is purposeful, given that they are doing the power ballad thing, exploring the ultimate power ballad. It wouldn't make sense for them to utilize the vocal style that they have been utilizing through most of the album here. It's also another way it gets differentiated, though. Lyrically, though, we are looking at a song that moves between perspectives. The first is from the perspective of the morphine saying, hey, you're troubled, I can take those troubles away. And then from the perspective of the person after getting high and sort of describing what they're experiencing. I'm not really sure what the purpose of this is. There doesn't seem to be a comedic angle. There isn't even a social commentary angle like we had on Poultrytician, other than the fact that maybe this guy died of an overdose. There's mentions a couple of times that they lose control of their breathing, they can't feel their body, they're becoming comatose. It doesn't explicitly state it, but it's possible that they do OD on it and end up dying from shutting down all of their systems. In which case we have an anti-morphine abuse message, which is, it's pertinent. But otherwise, it's kind of lacking, I think, a lot of the more comedic or fun angle, which, I mean, ODing on drugs, what funner topic do we have? So I suppose from that angle it makes a lot of sense, but there is one underlying thing here that I think is interesting, pairing it against Mambo Mambo. I want you to listen to the opening stanza here. It is from the perspective of the Morphine, and let me know if you hear anything similar to Mambo Mambo. Well, I'm here to calm your nerves, take a load off your mind. Let me course through your body till your troubles unwind. Squeeze in under your skin and let the magic begin. Feels so good, come on, this has to be a sin. Oh yeah, baby, feel that flow. Ain't no one can resist my flow. There is, I don't think in the delivery of it, because they were going for a very different angle, but the words themselves are very sexual leaning. Just lean back, relax, I'll take care of you. You'll feel better when I'm done. That kind of vibe is what sits under all of this. And I'm curious if the purpose, or if that was purposeful to put it back to back with the song that is explicitly about sex and the song that has sexual undertones to the way it presents the drug. I don't know, and I think if these songs were separated in the album, I don't know that I would have picked it up particularly. But since sex was already on my mind, thanks to the lizards of Mambo Mambo, that is a sentence that is going to be taken out of context, I believe. I should watch what I say on this channel, I suppose. It was already on my mind, though, and there's so many words here, especially since I was thinking about the words we use to talk about sex and sexuality already. And hearing some of that language here, I think, is really interesting to see them put these two tracks back to back like this. They are the two tracks I find are the least interesting musically. Again, they're not bad. Just compared to everything else, I don't find them to be as engaging on the musical side, but I think it's interesting that both I found are quite interesting on the linguistic side. If the lyrics themselves are not really that interesting to me, it's the use of the language in them that I am drawn to. Alright. With all that said, let's push forward. Like I mentioned, we're only going to have a couple more stops here. Oh, that was rough. Hope I'm not getting sick. We have an interlude, and then two tracks. We'll break and hit our final two. Let's dive into Caller Unknown.
Hello? I don't know what to say about this shit, but I don't know what to do now, and I never ever knew if we had access to it. So I don't know what to do now, and I don't even know if we have access to it. So I don't know what to do now, and I don't even know if we have to exercise a little. While I can go for the next 12 years of my work experience with my new home, or something like a sick time for me.
Alrighty. No, no. No, he did not just do that. I'm gonna have to take a moment.
We getting all up in your blow game.
Oh no.
Dark web, paper, see, party, back to your airway. Looking while you're surfing. We try not to disturb ya. Creeping up just like a jaguar. Break those legs so you feel it again. Allow the silicone trap in the hole in your head. Why you stuck in that gut and stick out your butt? Let the shutter go snap your famous. You break those legs, spit under that feel till your stomach sick. You through what? Say down prayers, unfriend and pretend as you hear that shit. Again and again with that vicious stare. Let's see them tears in the blood. Georgia.
Okay.
Where that is on the neck, you feel feet in your leg. Don't
as simple as this section is, it works. You know what though? I've been thinking about genre, and I think alternative metal is a really good thing for this. Avant-garde metal just doesn't feel like it fits for me. It's been nagging me since the beginning. That's such an infectious section. Hey, I hit pause. Alright. So, it's really interesting. After 4 songs of them, right? Their style is as diverse as that is. We move into track number 6, which is the 5th song, Mambo Mambo, which is their take on a R&B-esque rap song. Morphine Time, which is their take on a power ballad, and Jaw Drop, which is their take on whatever Skindred does. And I think it's really interesting to look at this pocket of this little pocket trilogy here as the joke is, what if we did this other thing? And it feels so more focused, so much more focused than anything else they do, which is scatterbrained. You never really know what's around the corner. And when it comes to these 3 tracks, they kind of stick to a plan. They stick to a flow because the punchline is them doing this style you wouldn't expect. So if they deviate from that, they no longer have the punchline. And I don't know if that's particularly their angle on it. I don't know if they view these tracks as comedy tracks. But I do find that those three songs are the least explorative compositionally, and they stand out amongst the rest that we've listened to as the least Troldhaugen, at least as far as their unique voice goes. This is them emulating something else rather than taking an influence and smashing it up against 5 other influences of theirs. This is them really wanting to make one song semi-focused in a different style. And of course, Mambo has a very different verse to it. And Morphine Time does kind of jump around between a couple of different sounds. And Jaw Drop does have a chorus that's a little different than the very obviously mimicking the vocalist from Skindred style verse. They're not entirely single-minded, but they are more focused than, Taxi Driver, which had like 8 different styles in it. To pare it down to just 2 feels very not Troldhaugen. And so, like I said, it's really interesting to listen to these 3 songs back to back here, and they feel like a different pocket. I'm going to wager that Genome in a Bottle and Perspective Man follow in the footsteps of the other stuff we've listened to. Poultrytician and BMX Terminator and CRISPr Me Baby, in that they are a smorgasbord of sounds haphazardly slapped together in whatever ways sound comedic, more so than the singular focus of Morphine Time or Jaw Drop. With that said, I did really enjoy Jaw Drop. I thought it was a great song, tons of fantastic groove, but I also dig Skindred too. I think they just do a fantastic job at these wall of sound, dancey, metal adjacent songs. Every instrument sort of just jumps in on the same rhythm, and you get this nice groove that goes against the backbeat with these powerful metallic guitars and these infectious rhythms on the vocals. I mean, they copied the style really well for Jaw Drop. It just doesn't really feel like it fits here. I mean, there's certainly the comedy at the very beginning when I realized what was going on. Oh, geez, this is the direction they're going in. Again, it's sort of a groan. When I said that this is the album equivalent of dad jokes, the musical equivalent of dad jokes, I don't think I'm wrong with that. So many moments in here isn't gut-bursting comedy. It's, oh my God, I can't believe they did that. And the smile that creeps up on your face when you say that. It is, oh, this is so bad. It's good kind of stuff. And so at the beginning of Jaw Drop, I kind of get that. But after that initial shock wears off, it just kind of becomes the status of the song, and it's not comedic anymore. Now it's just pure emulation. It's not wearing influences on your sleeves. It's just straight up being a different band. And so the song isn't bad. And much like I said earlier, Morphine Time isn't bad. Mambo isn't bad. They're just not what I would come to this album for. Again, I think Jaw Drop in isolation works really well. But Mannequin Checks In was so refreshing to get back to after this trilogy of songs that went for a different type of composition style. And I'm really hoping they stick with it moving into our final 2, because this is what I'm here for. The other tracks are fine. I just don't think they're as strong as everything else. Or at least maybe they don't hit the expectations I have for the band. Maybe more particularly for the album. Mannequin Checks In was just a blast, though. I don't, again, think I have anything specific to add to it. It is all of the heightened absurdity of the deliveries and the smashing together of a bunch of different styles, with all of it being held together cohesively, semi-cohesively, by the guitar, bass, and drums just laying down these very nu metal-y grooves. And it's fun. It is just a blast to sit here and listen to this style of music, not knowing what's around the corner and not caring. Let's hit some lyrics. We're beginning to enter into social commentary territory again with, what is this? Oh, Jaw Drop. It mentions that social media can rot people's brains, twist their minds around, make it so that they're not seeing straight. Their head's not quite on straight. And while they're in this mindset, can do things they might not have done otherwise. I think particularly it might even be leaning towards the idea that when celebrities get famous, they have people who help them through the fame, hopefully, in some capacity. Whereas if someone gets famous on TikTok or YouTube, it's just them. They usually don't have a PR firm or a counselor to help them through the fame. Fame is very, very strange in how it affects people, and I think we certainly need to put more emphasis on ensuring that once people become famous, that they know how to deal with the fame. It is certainly a double-edged sword. And so the song here is about somebody who puts some pictures up on Facebook and they get famous. And they just begin to do all this stuff. They begin to internalize ideas that they might not have before. They do stuff. They go out, go places where they might not have gone before. And their brain is all clouded the entire time, it states. It's also about sort of the power and or control that happens through social media, whether through fame or not. The idea of unfriending and sharing and doing this again and again with a vacant stare, all just to see people's chins hit the floor. That kind of idea. Like I said, it's interesting because it pairs in with Poultrytician, and on a little bit of a note, also Morphine time. I didn't expect them to really go in any of these directions, and being that it is more common now, I'm curious if I missed any deeper reads on any of the earlier tracks that seemed to be just a fun surface level jam. Mannequin Checks In is about people who, well, metaphorically are mannequins. Blank faces, arms to the side, not interesting, not great for conversation. It seems that there is a date going on, and this person says, he rolls up in the place. I've never seen someone so shady before. Maybe I should call the law. What was another line that I saw that kind of went along with that? I thought there was a different one. Anyways, though, it says, here we go again, another mannequin going around the bend, my brain he's gonna send. I could never be as dull or as lame as he. Won't someone help me, please? Is this guy a friend or a foe? He never eats and sleeps, just watches TVs, arms straight by his side, always in a static haze. He feels that yearning for some real company. That's what this one is. It's just about people who go about their day without any changes and just completely blank face. Not good for company, not good for conversation. And what to do when one ends up in front of you. How do you get out of that situation? That's what it seems to be about. So I suppose let's move on to our final group here. We're going to look at Genome in a Bottle and Perspective Man. I'm going to rewind this a bit and let's go. Warbly distorted rain. eerie tension. I don't really think I've commented too much on the gentiness of it all. I've talked about the rhythm, but they do have a bit in
Because cracking on the rest, where I did I leave that glue? Making one from two. Something squelming, wriggling, turning under the microscope. Yes, it's when was that till it floated. I've been at it for hours, so won't you show me what I need to know? In that bicycle power, baby, I really hope it doesn't blow.
oh yeah.
The genome can be
Little
defined as an
Flourish.
organism's complete set of DNA, including all of its genes. Each genome contains all of the information needed to build and maintain that organism. More than 3 billion base pairs are contained in the human genome. Break it down now. What? What's going on? I've been at it for hours, so won't you show me what I need to know? In that bicycle power, baby, I really hope it doesn't
Oh, I know this too. What is that progression? Going for a little bit of the what is that genre that Skrillex does? This chord progression right here. Well, it's only 2 chords. It reminds me of Genie in a Bottle, but it's more of like the key chords rather than the full progression.
It's all just a matter of perspective, man. You just do what you want when you can. It's all about perspective, man. Go on and take a little time to see it's there. Heads off without a worry or care. It's all about perspective, man. And if a giant asteroid fell out of space and sucked you one straight in the face, just keep on smiling all day. It's all just a matter of perspective, man. You just do what you want when you can. It's all about perspective, man.
No way. I'm kind of curious what their intentions were with this one. All right, so I took those moments of silence at the end to play back Genie in a Bottle in my head, and I do think Genie in a Bottle is also a two-chord progression. Although I have a weird version stuck in my head, I can't hear Christina Aguilera's version. I hear Dove Cameron's version that she did for some Disney Channel movie, I think. Don't ask. And so some of the information might be different, but I'm pretty sure they use two vamping chords on their chorus too, just like they did in Genome in a Bottle. So I think that actually might be a little Easter egg there. Something that, you know, like I mentioned, I was looking forward to in CRISPr and Baby One More Time and didn't hear, but I did hear there. Also, both of those are like mid to late 90s pop singles from arguably two of the biggest pop stars of the time, Britney Spears and Christina Aguilera. And yeah, I think that's interesting that their references are so. I mean, we also have Terminator, which is 80s, late 70s. I don't know when Terminator 1 came out. I think 2 was in the 80s, though. I mean, Morphine Time is Power Rangers right there. I mean, these guys have to be just a hair bit older than me, if not the same age, give or take. Uh, because I feel like a lot of these references are going to go over a younger group's head. Um, Also, I don't know if they are people who play video games, uh, but there's a lot of chiptune in here, and Genome in a Bottle immediately makes me think of Metal Gear Solid, and I tried to find some stuff in there musically that might have lined up with that too, and I don't think I did. So maybe I might be looking for the wrong thing in that one, but if someone else heard something there, or if maybe they've indicated that they're fans of that series or whatever, let me know. On the whole, though, Genome in a Bottle does pretty much the same thing a lot of the earlier tracks did. Perspective Man changes things up quite a bit. We shift over to a type of like 50s radio production, the staticness of an old-timey radio, mixed with even some vocal delivery that sounds more reminiscent of the time. Certainly not the more energetic, chaotic vocal delivery we've had a majority of this track. And we have just this white noise sitting in the background of it until that's all we have. 2 minutes of just that white noise, sort of like a wind turbine, an echo of a distant wind turbine, maybe down a tunnel. It's very reverby and just sort of present, just white noise. I think that's going to be a lyric song. I heard something in there that it's about your perspective, man, but that was the only lyric I picked up. I don't know. It was a very odd ending sonically. Maybe thematically the lyrics will make sense or something, but to musically go from all of that stuff, it's even more of a departure than Jaw Drop and Morphine Time were from their typical sound that they had. And interestingly, I think what is most cool about it is that it goes for more introspective elements. Everything in here is external. It's energy being pushed out. It's performance, something that somebody does to show others. Not that all performances have to be done for an audience, but that's what this one feels like it was intended for. It's very extrinsic in a lot of its elements. And this track, lyrically and sonically, I believe, are pushing more towards introspection in a way that none of the other tracks really have, at least on the surface level. I mean, there's been a couple tracks that have some commentary in them that I think might provide some introspection for some listeners, but for the most part, this is just a really fun time. You just listen to it, you groove along, you dance to it, they put on a great performance, you enjoy it. There we go. Very external. And I really like the starkness there with this ending. I think for it to elevate to something that I think is excellent, though, I'm going to need to get into the lyrics and hope that something really stands out there. Otherwise, it's going to feel like the album falls a bit flat here at the end. And I know it's not a concept album, but it'd be really neat if some of this stuff got tied together into something here. You know, of everything we've explored, you really need to put it all into perspective, man. That kind of thing, right? Not necessarily tying it all up conceptually, but tying the album up in some sort of bow. Let me hit the lyrics on these tracks and see what's going on. So, Genome in a Bottle continues on with some of the lyrics that we've explored earlier of mutation and genetics and all sorts of strange concepts we've kind of explored a little bit here. Looking at somebody who is cloning humans. He wants to make two from one, and he sees that he's doing these experiments. He's looking under microscopes to see if these organisms are expanding, and it's all about taking the human genome and replicating it. At one point, he even says that mixing chems under my house has led to humankind. That's the whole thing. It's dangerous, it's experimental, but he's doing it. I don't know why, but he hopes that it doesn't just explode and kill him. That's one of the big things in the chorus, is I hope it doesn't blow. So yeah, again, not much depth to it. That's it right there. He's cloning humans. Perspective Man doesn't even really have a lot of lyrics to it, as we've heard. And the main lyric is, it's just a matter of perspective, man. You do what you want when you can, because it's all about perspective, man. He says, so take a little time to sit and stare. Pants off, without a worry or a care. It's all about perspective. So, if an asteroid fell out of space, socked you one right in the face, just keep on smiling the whole day through, because it's all about perspective, man. Yeah, I think it's about not taking things too seriously, putting things into perspective. That thing that has you all riled up, possibly even something that happened online on social media. Don't let it ruin your whole day. Put it into perspective. How big is it really? And now that it's over and it's in the past, do you really want it to continue to control how you feel? I don't really see it saying much more than that, though. And so it is a very strange ending, I think, to this album. I don't know that it's... I'm not going to say it's bad, but I don't think it's good either. Where I'm sitting right now, though, I think I need another listen on the album to put some extra stuff in perspective. some of these tracks, I think, hold a bit more depth than I give them. I think my perspective on them just might be a bit wrong. Other tracks I've dug into quite a bit, and a few tracks didn't quite hit me the way the others did and bounced off of me. It's possible with a second or third listen, maybe even talking to some of you and discovering your perspective on these tracks, I may find a newfound enjoyment for some of the things, and maybe even find a connection to this track that brings it in line with the rest of the album in a way that makes it feel more cohesive, or at least rewarding as a conclusion. That's not the word I want, but I can't think of what I'm wanting to say. I was going to say rewarding again, as if I didn't just say that. But right now I really like the first half of the album. The second, third, kind of, it's okay. It's like a 5 out of 10. It's mid. And we end on two really cool tracks, and then Perspective Man, which I don't know how it fits into everything else. So, satisfying ending is the word I want. Not rewarding, satisfying. I don't know how I feel about the album as a whole. I greatly enjoyed my time with it. So, like, from a casual angle, this was phenomenal. I will definitely check out this album again. In fact, as I mentioned last week during the Ruben album review, I often show my sister tracks with a little bit more weight towards stuff I don't think she would like, so, get that reaction out of it. But I do show her stuff that she will like, and I think she's going to really adore Taxi Driver. And so I'm going to end up playing her that, as well as Jaw Drop, which I think is just... The opening brats is just going to be... It's going to be the best smile, I think, that it's going to be on her face. And we're just going to have a good time laughing. I never ended up showing her that track from Ruben with the hyper dissonance in it, because that's just cool. I told her about it. I asked her if she wanted to hear it, and she said, "No, why would you even ask me?" So, I spared her of that one. But, yeah, I'll be showing her a couple from here, because we do have a history back in high school. I had my driver's license. She was younger than me. She didn't. I had a car. And so we listened to, stuff on the radio. And one of the bands, which I can't believe I never brought up here, that I think we liked singing along to often, but we never really got into their music, was System of a Down. And this does feel like very modern System of a Down. Especially now, having listened to all their works. Has the new metal craziness of their self-title, but like the focus and experience you can find off of Hypnotize and Mesmerize. Yeah. Also kind of Mr. Bungle. I don't have a lot of experience with them. I've only heard a few tracks, but that same sort of chaotic energy, I think, is present in both of these. Alright, those are my thoughts on Troldhaugen's Idio+syncrasies. Let me know what you thought of this album. Give me your opinions, comments, thoughts, perspectives, even. I always put that word there in this outro, and I think it carries more weight now because of, perspective, man. Above that, in the description box, you'll find a link to Linktree. Takes you here to this menu. You can find links to my music, ways to support the channel, a link to the Discord server, and so much more. Above that, if you could, like, subscribe, and ring the bell. I greatly appreciate all three of those. Alright, that wraps it up for this one. I'll be back tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're going to do a live stream. Everyone is welcome to come. The songs are pre-selected. I don't take live requests on these. But everyone is welcome to come and chat and have discussions about the music. I tend to ramble and rant, and we can get on all sorts of different topics. It's not like it has to be just music oriented. I do try to keep it a little on track. We have to get through 10 songs in roughly 2 hours. The time limit is totally self-imposed, but I tend to be home alone with my kid. No other adults, so I don't like to leave her alone for too long. Not that she wants to spend any time with her old man anyways. She's getting a bit too old for that. But yeah, try to stay on topic with things. But I do divert. I'm rambling here, so let's wrap this up. I'll catch y'all next time. Until then, remember to be critical, not cynical, of the music you listen to, and have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening, whenever you choose to watch my videos.